Hello, I'm Wale Ogunleye, head of the Sports and Entertainment Division at UBS. And as a former NFL player who played 11 years in the league, I know firsthand how difficult it is to receive sudden amounts of wealth without having any financial background. That's why when I got done playing, I went back and got my MBA and joined forces with UBS to make sure that we help our athlete and entertainer clients understand their finances and to plan for a lasting legacy. Many artists and individuals who work within the entertainment space sometimes don't have the full knowledge that they need to understand their finances. There's unique challenges and headwinds and sometimes even biases that come into play when understanding your finances. The UBS Billboard partnership is created to help alleviate those biases and push back on some of the headwinds to make sure that individuals within the entertainment space understand what they should be doing with their money. Today's Spotlight series, I'm happy to be joined by Melissa Lilly. Melissa Lilly is a wealth planning strategist at UBS, and her job is to focus on our advisors and our ultra-high net worth clients on planning from tax planning to business succession, wealth transfer, and their philanthropic objectives. She's a dedicated resource to me and my team in the athlete and entertainer space, and she recently authored one of our best publications, the Rights and Returns piece that we had at UBS. That publication was to help our clients discuss music sales for individuals in the music industry. In this episode, we'll be discussing the major considerations for an artist before and after the sale of their music catalog. Melissa, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you, I'm happy to be here.
I mean, listen, everybody loves music, and this topic is about catalogs and music sales, so I want to get right into it. It seems lately that I'm seeing it more in the headlines, people selling their music catalogs. Why has it been such a hot topic recently?
That's a really great question, and I think there's a number of reasons for it. I think one of the main reasons for it is really that institutional investors have become more interested in the space than they had been in the past. I mean, historically, we've seen big music companies or media companies be interested in buying music catalogs like Sony and some of the big names. But even more so, we've seen smaller private equity groups get into this space. Mm-hmm. I think one of the main reasons for that is that with the invent of streaming services and really being able to charge people for that, it's been easier to monetize music than it has historically. It's been a really nice revenue stream, and that was important for investors, especially when interest rates were really low. It was almost like a replacement for income stream for traditional bond investors, where usually you could get a kind of a nice coupon on a bond, but now that we have when interest rates were really low, that was going away, and this music revenue stream was sort of a replacement for that. So I think that's one main reason. I think another reason that it's been a really big hot topic is because a lot of artists are getting older, right? We have a lot of baby boomer artists, and so those are some of the ones that we've seen selling their music catalog. There may be multiple factors for why they want to do that. Right. Maybe they're done with it and they want to start the next stage of their life. Some people consider getting out of the music catalog ownership because it's a really complex asset, and if you're thinking about passing that asset on to the next generation, it might be something really difficult for them to manage. The next generation might want to do their own thing, right? And having a lump sum of money to do that with would be a better strategy for them moving forward. And then finally, I think the COVID-19 pandemic had something to do with it. When live music and performance was shut down, a lot of revenue for musicians was gone, and so they may have needed to sell some of their music catalog just to cover regular expenses.
And you talked a little bit about the considerations that artists should think about when selling their catalogs. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. What are some of the key considerations that our artists should be thinking about when they're selling their music?
I think there's both external considerations and then internal considerations. So the external considerations would be the market environment that we're in right now, and it's changed in the last year, mostly because of interest rates, right? So interest rates would affect the timing of your sale. Also, who's interested, right? Are there smaller private equity groups that are interested in buying a music catalog? Which investors are looking? So I think there's those external factors are something you always want to consider we talk to our musician clients about that, just like we would our business clients, right? Is this the right time to sell? Sometimes when the economy's in more turmoil, it might not be as great as it would have been if we were in a great gangbuster economy.
Right.
And then the internal reasons for selling, right? Where are you in your state? What stage of your career are you? For example, a younger artist might consider selling part of their music catalog as an investment in themselves, right? If they could get a lump sum of money today, they might be able to use that to invest in their own career moving forward.
Right.
Versus someone who is older, who might be thinking about de-risking their assets, right? If most of your wealth is tied up in this music catalog, it might be something that you think about liquidating so that you can spread out your risk over a more balanced portfolio.
Love it.
Investment.
You talked about the lump sum. I every time there's a big lotto in my state, I play it.
Right.
And I hear all of these big payouts.
Right.
When it comes to music catalog and selling, tell us the differences about getting that lump sum or continuing to get revenue from the streaming of your music.
Sure. So music catalogs historically have paid royalties, which is an ongoing income stream over the course of however long you own that asset. And basically, if you're selling your music catalog, you're shifting that income stream to something that is a lump sum, right? There's a couple of factors to think about when you're doing that. So royalties are typically taxed at ordinary income rates. And right now, under the federal income tax rules, the maximum tax bracket is 37%. So anytime you're receiving that income stream over time, you're going to be taxed at 37%. If you're in the maximum tax bracket.
Yes,
right?
That's pretty high.
If you're getting a lump sum, if you're selling your catalog, you're essentially recognizing capital gains on the sale of that asset, the underlying asset. That's typically taxed at 20% for the federal tax rate. So it's you're taxed on the gain of that particular asset. And then you can invest that money into all different kinds of assets, right? You could invest it into some income-producing assets like bonds, or dividend-paying stocks, which may be at a more favorable income tax rate. You could also invest it in growth assets over time.
I love that. When we think about all of the positives of getting paid or a lump sum for your music catalog, are there any risks though associated with selling your catalog?
Well, I think there's personal risk in keeping it and in selling it, right? And I think you have to weigh the pros and the cons for you personally. Again, we had talked a little bit about having all your eggs in one basket. So if your main asset is your music catalog, and something happened to music, right now we're at a pretty steady state in the music industry where we feel pretty comfortable with the revenue that it's generating, but there could be technology that comes in and disrupts that, and that might change. So if that happened, you would lose that revenue stream. So selling it and diversifying could be one way to de-risk that. But I think on the personal level, if you're selling a music catalog, it's not like you're selling your car. You're selling something that you've created, right? It's your creativity that you're giving away, and so I think thinking about how that will affect you over time might be really important. We've seen headlines in the news recently where some artists who are upset at a streaming service broadcasting someone that they don't agree with politically, they don't want to play their music on that stream. But if you sell your music catalog, you're no longer going to have the ability to pull your music from something that you don't agree with politically.
No, I've definitely seen that. I've seen that a couple of times. People have used some really famous music on political campaigns, and those artists are like, I wish I could have the control of my own music and my baby being used. Let me ask you this though, as an artist, you think you're at UBS or you're thinking about working with UBS, how does UBS help an artist think through the process of possibly selling their catalog?
That's a really great question, and really a financial plan can help an artist understand if selling is the right choice for them, right? And the steps for creating a financial plan really begin with understanding your assets. So we ask every client to sit down and put together a net worth statement, really understanding what's out there, what you own, what your music interest is in your catalog, and what the revenue stream is from that. And once we have that solidified, the next step is to really talk about your goals, right? So when we're doing financial planning, it's goal-based financial planning. And we think about your short-term goals and your long-term goals. And then we see how the music catalog sale could potentially play into helping you achieve your goals.
Okay.
So really the financial plan is our main tool for helping artists feel comfortable with making the decision on sell or not sell.
I'm not gonna act like I don't know, but this is one of the things that I am extremely attracted to when I decided to start working with UBS myself, was the Wealth Way's 3L approach. Can you explain a little bit more about the 3L approach?
The UBS Wealth Way is a really wonderful framework to talk to clients about how to invest their money and how to think about their goals and their financial goals over time. So the 3L stand for liquidity, longevity, and legacy. And liquidity is really the money that you need to get you through the next 3 years, right? So it's the cash money, the money that we need when we're for our daily expenses, for any short-term purchases that are in the near future. If we're selling a music catalog, we're sort of shifting our liquidity because we had liquidity coming in through this royalty income. And so now we might need to think more about keeping a bucket of money, of cash available for our everyday expenses if we no longer have that income stream coming in. So that's one thing we like to think about. The longevity piece is really from year 3 through the rest of our lives, right? And so that's a really important piece to talk to clients about, especially when they're concerned about getting through retirement. Obviously, it's much easier to talk about the longevity bucket when we have an older client. Typically, older clients are more steady in their spending,
Right.
And they have less years for us to plan. A younger client, when we're thinking about the longevity bucket, it might be a different discussion.
Right.
They might have more erratic spending. They might be interested in spending money on bigger ticket items. And it's more difficult to predict what they're going to spend over time.
Right.
And then the legacy bucket, which is really my bread and butter, which I love talking to clients about, is talking about transferring wealth to the next generation or potentially to charity. So it's really, what do you see happening with your money after you're gone? What do you want your legacy to be?
Right. I love it. You know what? For us, our slogan is "Let's talk legacy."
Yes.
And I think for a lot of artists and even athletes, it's hard to even think about that legacy component because you're thinking about your day-to-day, and legacy is like when I'm not here.
Right.
And sometimes it can be morbid.
Right.
For you, how do we get our artists thinking about planning for their legacy through maybe a catalog sale?
Sure, I think that it's a really great question, and it's a challenge that we have across clients. It's not just necessarily our athletes and entertainer clients, because no one likes to think about what's going to happen when they're gone. I think typically the most motivating factor is taking care of your family, right? So setting things up today to ensure that your family is taken care of once something happens to you. As we discussed a little bit earlier, maybe your kids really aren't interested in managing your music catalog after you're gone. So a catalog sale today or through your estate might really make sense at that time. We've seen a lot of catalog sales happen through the estates, like I think David Bowie's was through his estate too. So that's really a main concern for a lot of people.
Right.
Also, a lot of people just really don't want to pay taxes. So thinking about how to mitigate taxes on your death is an important factor. Many, right now you're able to transfer close to $13 million to the next generation before estate taxes kick in. But anything over that is essentially taxed at 40%. So when people understand that and the income or the estate tax that may be due on this on your death, they start thinking more about legacy. That can be a motivation.
Wow.
So really, we always say that you're either going to be paying the government or go to charity, right? So that's also another, philanthropy is a major discussion that we have with our artist and athlete clients.
Man, almost 40%?
40%, yeah.
That is a lot.
That is a lot.
Dang, well, I'm going to try to live forever then,
Yes.
I guess. No, but honestly, so, speaking about that, I mean, even with taxes, I know we don't give much tax advice at UBS. Tell me though about the value of creating an expert team of people behind you when you're thinking about selling.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anytime we're talking with a client about selling, we recommend putting a team in place of experts who've gone through the process before, right? So you may have a CPA or a business manager or an attorney who's been great at what they do for you today, but they may not have ever been through the process of a music catalog sale. So we recommend finding people who are experts in this area to help you. When it's dealing with the music catalog, the things that are really important is the valuation. So making sure you have a company that you have a good relationship with who can help you value your asset. Making sure you have a good CPA who can help you with the income tax implications of the sale and after the sale. Making sure you have a good business attorney who can advocate for you, especially because artists are typically selling these to large institutions who have their own, their own staff of attorneys who have been through this before. So you want to make sure you have good advocates for you. And really, we like to see the UBS financial advisor as the center of that, the quarterback, so to speak, of the team, and they can help, bring those relationships together.
Well, when we talk about team, Melissa, I'm so happy me and you are on the same team. It's always been a pleasure talking with you on anything that you know about, because you're really good at that. But more importantly, I want to thank you for joining us on this topic. And for anyone who's interested in learning more about what we do in this conversation, please join us at ubs.com/legacy to talk more about rights and returns, or even how to build your own legacy. Thank you.